Flight 447 from Denver to Boston was cruising at 35,000 feet when the lightning began. Through the small aircraft windows, passengers could see storm clouds building in the distance, dark and ominous against the afternoon sky. Most travelers barely glanced up from their books and tablets, accustomed to the routine turbulence that came with commercial air travel. In seat 17E, 39-year-old Michael Torres held his 7-year-old daughter Emma close as she clutched her worn teddy bear, Mr. Buttons. Emma had been nervous about flying since they boarded, and the approaching storm wasn't helping her anxiety. Michael gently stroked her blonde hair and spoke in the calm, reassuring voice he had perfected during 2 years of single fatherhood. "It's just a little weather, mija," Michael said softly. "The pilots know exactly what they're doing. These planes are built to handle storms much bigger than this one." What the other passengers didn't know was that Michael Torres understood aircraft and weather systems better than most people on Earth. For 12 years, he had been a fighter pilot in the Air Force, flying F-16s in combat missions and training exercises that demanded split-second decisions under extreme pressure. He had left military service 2 years ago when his wife died in a car accident, choosing to focus entirely on raising Emma and building a civilian life as an aerospace engineer. The commercial aviation world felt different from military flying, safer and more predictable, but Michael's trained eye still automatically assessed every sound, every movement of the aircraft. Right now, everything seemed normal despite the approaching storm. That changed in an instant. A massive bolt of lightning struck the aircraft's left wing, followed immediately by a sound that Michael recognized with sinking dread, the high-pitched whine of engines losing power. The cabin lights flickered, and the steady hum of the aircraft's systems began to change in ways that sent alarm bells through Michael's trained consciousness. Around them, passengers began to murmur nervously as the plane shuddered and dropped altitude. Emma pressed closer to her father, her eyes wide with fear. "Daddy, what's happening?" she whispered, before Michael could answer. The captain's voice came over the intercom, and the barely controlled panic in his tone made Michael's blood run cold. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've experienced a lightning strike that has damaged our primary electrical systems and caused significant engine problems. We're currently flying on backup power, and our navigation systems are compromised." The captain paused, and Michael could hear heated discussion in the background before the announcement continued. "We're going to attempt an emergency landing, but I need to ask if there are any experienced pilots aboard this aircraft. Please identify yourselves to the flight crew immediately." The cabin erupted in nervous chatter and crying as the gravity of the situation hit the passengers. Michael felt Emma's small hand grip his arm tightly. "Daddy, are we going to crash?" she asked, her voice trembling. Michael looked down at his daughter's frightened face and made a decision that would test everything he had learned about courage, responsibility, and what it meant to be a father. "Emma, remember how I used to fly planes in the Air Force?" he said gently. She nodded, her eyes never leaving his face. "Well, it looks like these pilots might need some help, and I think I can help them. But I need you to be very brave for me, okay? You're going to help fly the plane?" Emma asked with the mixture of fear and awe that only children can express. "I'm going to try, sweetheart. Mrs. Patterson from 15C has been watching you smile at her the whole flight. I think she would be happy to sit with you while I go help the pilots. Would that be okay?" Emma nodded solemnly, understanding with the intuitive wisdom of childhood that this was one of those moments when grown-ups had to do important, scary things. Michael flagged down a flight attendant and identified himself as a former military pilot. Within minutes, he was being escorted to the cockpit, where he found a scene of controlled chaos. Captain Sarah Rodriguez and First Officer James Chen were working frantically with damaged instruments and backup systems. The lightning strike had knocked out their primary navigation, damaged one engine severely, and left them flying mostly on instruments that were giving inconsistent readings. "Thank God," Captain Rodriguez said when she saw Michael. "We heard you're military trained?" 12 years flying F-16s plus aerospace engineering background, Michael replied, immediately taking in the situation. "What's our status?" We've lost the left engine completely. The right engine is running at maybe 60%, and our GPS and autopilot are dead. We're flying manual with partial instruments. And we need to get this aircraft down safely with limited power and navigation. Michael studied the instrument panel with the rapid assessment skills that had kept him alive in combat situations. The aircraft was in serious trouble, but not hopeless. "What's our nearest airport with a long enough runway?" he asked. "Springfield Regional, about 40 miles northeast. But with our navigation systems down, we're essentially flying blind in storm conditions." Michael closed his eyes for a moment, calling up every lesson he had learned about emergency navigation and crisis management. "I can help with that. Military training includes backup navigation techniques and emergency landing procedures." Over the next 20 minutes, Michael worked alongside the commercial pilots to manually calculate their approach to Springfield Regional Airport. His experience with combat landings in damaged aircraft proved invaluable as they worked to compensate for the lost engine and damaged systems. "Michael, we're going to need to make this approach steeper and faster than normal because of our engine situation," Captain Rodriguez explained. "It's going to be rough." "I understand," Michael replied. "In the military, we called these character-building landings. The passengers are going to be scared, but if we do this right, everyone goes home to their families tonight." As they began their approach, Michael thought about Emma in the cabin, probably terrified but trusting that her father would find a way to keep everyone safe. The weight of that trust, multiplied by every passenger on the aircraft, focused his mind with laser precision. The landing was everything they had predicted. Rough, fast, and requiring every ounce of skill from all three pilots working together. But as the aircraft touched down safely at Springfield Regional and rolled to a stop on the runway, the cabin erupted in cheers and applause. Michael made his way back through the cabin, where passengers reached out to shake his hand and thank him. But his focus was entirely on seat 17E, where Emma sat with Mrs. Patterson, her face glowing with pride. "Daddy, did you help save the airplane?" she asked as he scooped her into his arms. "We all saved it together, mija," Michael replied, holding her close. The pilots, the flight crew, and all the passengers who stayed calm and helped each other. Later, as they waited in the airport for their rescheduled flight, Emma fell asleep against her father's shoulder, still clutching Mr. Buttons. A reporter from the local news station approached Michael for an interview about the emergency landing. "Mr. Torres, passengers are calling you a hero. How does it feel to have helped save Flight 447? Michael looked down at his sleeping daughter and considered the question carefully. "I don't think I'm a hero," he said quietly. "I think I'm a father who happened to have skills that were needed in a crisis." The real heroes are the commercial pilots who deal with situations like this as part of their job, and the flight crew who kept everyone calm and safe. But you could have stayed in your seat. You chose to get involved. Michael smiled, thinking about the decision that had taken him from passenger to co-pilot in a matter of minutes. When you're a parent, you learn that sometimes you have to step up and do difficult things, not because you want to be a hero, but because people are counting on you. Today that meant helping fly a plane. Tomorrow, it might just mean helping with homework or kissing a scraped knee. What will you tell your daughter about today? Michael looked down at Emma's peaceful face and felt overwhelming gratitude that they would have the chance for many more conversations, many more ordinary days together. "I'll tell her that being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do what needs to be done even when you are scared. Because sometimes other people need you to be strong." 6 months later, Michael received a letter from Captain Rodriguez informing him that Flight 447's emergency landing had been used as a case study in aviation safety training. The successful outcome had been attributed to the combination of professional expertise, quick thinking, and the willingness of all involved to work together under extreme pressure. But the letter that meant the most to Michael came from Emma's second-grade class, who had written him thank-you notes after learning about the emergency landing. One 7-year-old had written, "Thank you for helping the airplane land safe. My daddy says real heroes are people who help other people when they need it most." Sometimes the most important moments in our lives happen when we're just trying to get from one place to another. And sometimes the skills we developed in one part of our lives become exactly what's needed in an entirely different situation. Michael had learned that being a father meant being ready for anything. Whether that was a skinned knee on the playground or an aircraft emergency at 35,000 feet. In both cases, the job was the same. Stay calm, use your skills and experience, and do whatever it takes to keep the people you care about safe. If this story reminded you that heroes are often just ordinary people who step up when they're needed most, please give it a like and share it with someone who understands that courage comes in many forms. Subscribe for more stories about everyday heroes and the power of being prepared to help others, and let us know in the comments about a time when someone's unexpected skills made all the difference in a crisis. Sometimes the most important qualifications we have are the ones we hope we'll never need to use.